This time on Fox Can Fix It, what we're going to do is replace the front crank seal with the timing cover off the engine so it's the easier way. Let's get going. This is your front timing cover. This is your water pump. Your fan clutch goes on here. It is left-hand thread. Be careful of that. It says it on the shroud. It says it in the books. But on this one, tighten is loosen, loosen is tighten. Thermostat, lower radiator hose would go here. This is one of your bypass hoses. This is your crankshaft pulley and your harmonic balancer. What you'll do is you'll take, ideally, all 4 of those bolts out. I only had 3 there, so take those out, put those aside. Then, since this is already off the engine, we're going to pretend this were on the engine real quick. This is your harmonic balancer bolt. You will take this off. Then you will have to get a harmonic balancer puller kit. But most of the puller kits I've seen don't come with the right tool to actually get in here, because if you push on this, you're just pushing against yourself. So you actually have to get a smaller bolt down through the actual snout of that crankshaft. What I usually do for this one is I'll take an older bolt and I will kill all the threads on it so it doesn't touch the sides of the threads of the crankshaft snout, and I'll put that down in, and it's much longer, and it gives me, if you can see here, if I do that, let me set this down in, that gives me about that much room to actually pull this damper off. If I don't do that, I can't get all the way through here and push against the crankshaft. So it's, at least with the kits that I've seen around, I have to have an additional sort of extension on it. So basically what you do is you take your kit and you put your bolts in here, thread them in where, or pulley bolts were, then you have this larger bolt, and this larger bolt is what threads into your yoke here. But the problem is, like I was saying, it doesn't go through. You push against yourself. So, extension, that is what you have to do for this, and push it out that way. So with your extension on there, and with this on here, you tighten this, and it pulls your damper off slowly but surely, and it should come fairly easily, and you pull, and you pull, and you pull, and then boop, damper's off. There's your harmonic balancer. If this were still on the vehicle, once you pull this harmonic balancer off, what you'd be left with is the snout of your crankshaft. For today's purposes, that's this deep well socket. But it serves the same purpose. So then you have to get this seal off around this crankshaft, which is not impossible, but it's not the easiest thing to do. But if you're taking it off and replacing it, it doesn't matter really if you damage the seal, but what you don't want to damage is this machine surface that it sits in, and you don't want to damage the snout of your crank. Another reason it's easier to do with the timing cover off. Bigger pain, however, better chance of sealing. Obviously, I did it with it on last time, didn't seat it far enough. I have already failed once. But if this were on the vehicle, it would look like that, and you don't have a lot of room to get in there and get the seal off. Magically, it is off the vehicle. I don't have a crankshaft snout there in the way. This, then, is your front crank seal. As you can see, this one has rubbed. Even though I replaced it recently, it looks like I didn't seat it far enough, or there's something on my damper. Let's look. No, it's nothing on my damper. You can see here where it was riding. It just means I didn't seat it far enough. It needs to be somewhere in the center where it's not going to ride right here. You want it somewhere, here's the new one. You want it somewhere around here, and obviously I didn't seat it far enough, and I was actually rubbing on this and it was tearing it. So, not a big deal. You want it ideally somewhere about like that, which the unfortunate part about this one is this seal doesn't have a shoulder on it. If you can see, it's the same diameter. There's no neck or shoulder on it. Like on a lot of GM products, it'll have a shoulder here, and the shoulder will seat against the front of your timing cover, which means it definitely, there's a depth that you'll know when it's seated. You'll know when you're there. Ford does not work that way apparently, but I believe this one is going to actually be flush to the back side of the timing cover. With this on the vehicle, that would be hard to gauge, but with it off, we'll be able to flip it over and see when we're flush on this. What we're going to do is, I've got an old washer that's about the right diameter and a big deep well socket impact, and all I want to do is tap this out the back side here. Done. It's a spring-loaded seal, so that's what actually keeps this in place, and it's a double seal. There's 2 edges to it. However, I didn't seat it far enough, and I already tore one, so this was going to leak fairly soon if I didn't take care of it. Let's wipe this surface off. Now, what you shouldn't do is what I did. You should not put fingerprints all over your seal, although this one will probably be okay, but you still shouldn't do it. Then your new seal, if you can get it started with your fingers, that'd be great. So you're not trying to fight it, getting it on the initial fit. And then, if you have the seal installer, it is basically the same setup, but it would be the correct diameter for that. This is my close approximation. What you don't want to do when you're hammering it is you don't want to be anywhere near the inside of this. You want this firm outside edge that is actually just metal coated in rubber on the outside. But that's what you want, so you don't damage your seal before you even put it in. And this one, we're going to take a couple minutes and make sure that we get the depth right on it. Okay, this still has probably, total depth is probably 3/4 of an inch on this. So it actually goes in quite far. My hat's probably in the way. Huh. Okay, the depth of this neck is over 3/4 of an inch. This has to go in pretty far. The seal itself is 1/4 of an inch, but like I said, with it off, we can tell when it's flush, so that's convenient for us. Almost there, getting pretty close to the back side of it. And you want to get this in square because you do not want it canted at all, because if it's canted, it's not going to seal either. The front seal is now flush to the back side of the timing cover. And as you can see, is down in there probably 9/16 of an inch. It's flush to the back side, so now it's going to ride correctly on here. Like I said, again, I had mine too far forward because I did it in the vehicle, and it was actually getting torn riding on this chamfered edge right here. And it's now going to ride right around there. So it should not get torn again. I should have probably taken it off the first time, but tried to do it the lazy way. It did not work. This time, that will work. Reassembly will be the same. You'll put the timing cover back on the engine, which means you'll have your crank snout sticking out just like that. Then this will go back on. And there is an installer tool for this that is basically just a long bolt that threads this back down on. It's a press fit. There is a keyed slot. That keyed slot goes on the crankshaft, so this can only go on one way. But make sure that the key is actually in your crankshaft. They do fall out sometimes. Not often, but they can. Make sure it's there. It's just a piece of metal sticking out. Little semicircle cut. Once you do that, you get that pressed back on. You can put your bolt back in, tighten that. It's probably 150 or 200 foot-pounds. Look it up. I haven't done so. Then your final pulley goes back on, and your bolts get tightened. Then, if you haven't done it already, you can put your thermostat back in, thermostat housing. You can put your fan clutch back on. Again, left-hand thread, so tighten will be loosen. And that's it. Doing this, you probably have a good chance of creating a lot of other oil leaks here at the bottom of the oil pan, here against your block. But hopefully, if done right, we will have stopped the oil leak that was right here. Somebody had actually asked me about the front crank seal, and I had done sort of a demo video that sort of half explained it. So hopefully this one got it the rest of the way. That is front crank seal installation and removal, or removal and installation. Guess you have to take one out before you can put one in, but if you just bought a brand new timing cover, it might not have one on it. So that is it for today. I don't have all my parts yet, so I can't really do much else. This is going to have to do it. Stick around. In upcoming episodes, I'll be able to put the rest of this engine back together, and we'll see if I cured my oiling problem. But that's it for now, so see you.